everyone, this is Miss Govey, and I want to give you a rundown of all the materials you're going to need to get our unit on living things started. So to start off, you're going to come to me and you're going to get a ton of papers, a KWL and a living things, a little star chart, you need a levels of organization paper, a little foldy thing, these circle things, lots of papers in this one, lots of cutting in this one, but trust me, it's all going to be worth it in the end. So to start, you are going to take your living things and the KWL, trim them down, and make them into this lovely little cover page for our unit. If you want to color it in and make it look party, you're more than welcome to. And then underneath that, I would like to fill in the things that you know already about cells, the things that you want to know about cells, and then when we're all done with this unit, you're going to put in the things you learned about cells that were perhaps new to you or interesting to you. So that is your cover page. On the next page, this is where you guys are going to need to take those dots. You're going to cut them all out. So water, living space, food, homeostasis. And then you're going to take the star-shaped thing, this one right here, trim that one down, flip it over, and glue it into your notebook. So when it's all open, it actually looks like this, and then you can fold it in to see all the cool little stuffs. On the opposite page, you're going to put the characteristics of living things. So let's talk about this one real briefly here and what I need you to do with it. This one is about all the things that creatures do that are living. So in the center, I would like you to write the following. An organism is a living thing. An organism is a living thing that carries out all basic life functions. And so you can see we have 6 basic life functions that all organisms need to do and to have to be able to be alive. So under each of these flaps, I want you to tell me about each of those functions as they correspond with the picture on top. So you might be scratching your head going, well, I know those are weird looking cells, but I don't know anything about cells. Well, glad you asked. So if you come over here to the reading portion, you have a little handout that goes through this information. As you read through it, I would love for you to annotate it. And so let's do this first paragraph together, and then you guys can do the rest on your own. So anytime we see the main idea, we're going to double underline it. Important vocabulary will be a single underline, and anything you're not sure of that you want to come talk to me later will be a question mark. So let's look. Living things have cells. All living things are composed of one or more cells. A cell is a membrane-covered structure that contains all the materials necessary for life. Oh, wow. So all living things are composed of one or more cells. That is like super important. I think that we should underline that. All living things are composed of one or more cells, especially the all. And then what's really cool about this is it contains all the materials necessary for life. So membrane covered might be a new vocab to you guys, so you might want to underline that one. And then all the materials necessary for life, that is also pretty important intel there, but it's not really a new vocab or a made point, so maybe not underline it just yet. Let's keep going. The membrane that surrounds the cell separates the contents of the cell from the cell's environment. Most cells are too small to be seen with the naked eye. Some organisms are made up of trillions of cells. In an organism with many cells, different kinds of cells perform specialized functions. Ooh, I like that one. Specialized functions. That feels vocabulary-ish. For example, your nerve cells transport signals and your muscle cells are specialized for movement. In an organism made up of only one cell, different parts of the cell perform different functions. For example, a one-cell paramecium needs to eat. So some parts of the cell take in food, other parts of the cell break down the food, and still other parts of the cell excrete the waste. So our main idea on this one, our big double underline, is all living things are composed of one or more cells. And then we single underline important vocab words. You might find some other things in here that are important too, so feel free to do that. Now if there's anything in here you're not sure about, like let's say one-celled paramecium, that might be a word that's new to me. So I can put a little question mark here to the outside, be like, you know what, I'm gonna go look that up in a bit and come back to it later. So now what I'd love for you guys to do is to take this information and come up with some questions that you think might be on the test. So maybe, looking at this info, the membrane that surrounds the cell separates the contents of the cell from the cell's environment. Well, that's important. So I bet you there might be a test question that is maybe asking about what's the function of the membrane. So let's make a little test question over here on the side. What is the function of the membrane? And come up with like 1 to 2 questions for each one that later on you can quiz yourself, because you can literally take this little sheet, fold it over, and then like, ooh, what is the function of the membrane? And ta-da! I can answer the question by going, oh, the membrane surrounds the cell, separates the contents of the cell from the cell's environment. So that's why we do these little things on the side, so you can kind of quiz yourself. Now, what do I want you to do with the star thing? I want you to take this section and I want you to summarize it over here. All right, so you're going to want to find the picture about cells right here, this one, and underneath the cell flap, I want you to write just a little summary of what was going on in that first paragraph. So let's see, the cells, they talked about the membranes, they talked that all living things are made of one or more cells. So I kind of like that. All living things are made of cells. And then cells separate the contents from the environment. So that way we have everything contained within. If you think of like somebody in a jail cell, they're being separated from the outside environment as well, because they're locked inside to keep them away. So that is our function of our cells. Now, as you go through this, you're going to notice that each one of these paragraphs corresponds with each one of these pictures. And in the second half of the sheet, you'll see the necessities of life. And you'll notice that there are 1, 2, 3, 4 of those right here. And come back over and our 4 big bubbles: water, living spaces, food, and homeostasis. So just like before, you're going to do a summary underneath each of those. You just have a little bit more room to write them. Okay, so that's our first part. In our second part, you guys are going to flip it a page. You got 2 things to do. One is the levels of organization chart. And so that is this one right here. I want you to cut these out and then organize them from smallest to largest. So I gave you some clues here on the video, starting with cell, and then you go up to organ system, and then something bigger than that. Perhaps an organism? I don't know, maybe. Okay, yes, actually that's the answer. All right, you're gonna fill that out with the definition and the example. On the next page, you're going to give yourself a little quizzing tool. So this is the levels of organization quizzing. You're going to cut out, make a little pocket right here. You're going to have these little strips. And then this thing, you cut it out, but you only put glue right here. This very center strip is the only part of this that has glue. Because what you can do then is you can take the level that we're talking about, tissue, organ, organ system, organism, and our cell, slide it up under here. Take your definition, that's going to go under here, and then take your example picture, and that goes right here. So again, this is why you only put glue underneath this part. And so to look at these, like let's say that, we're looking at the smallest working unit of life that serves a specific job or function. The smallest thing, why guys, that's a cell. So I can line it up here with cell. There's my definition of cell. And then I want to find my picture of cell. Ta-da! And you can quiz each other, because if you do the thing on this side correctly, this will be your answer key. And then you can do little challenges. You can challenge your friends in class. Tell me what's made of several cells similar in structure and function that work together to perform a specific job. I wonder what that is. You know what? I bet you. And you could challenge them, and they could say, like, I think it is the organ. And you can go, wrong, that's not true. And then they could be like, is it tissue? You could be like, yay, you're right. And then they could be like, okay, now show me a picture of a tissue. And they give you a frog, and you can be like, no, you're wrong. And then they can come down here, and they can be like, oh, yep, that's right, high five, yay. And you can, like, be all cool and whatnot. And then when you're all done, you can pull these out, and they can go into your little pockets for storage. Go home, challenge your parents, see how smart they are, and be like, yeah, you got it, or like, wrong, come on, I thought you graduated high school, and give them a hard time, because that's always fun. So that's what I want you guys to do in your booklet. And so here, again, on the cover, you're going to do the living things with the KWL. Then you've got the little dots. Read through this. And then finally, you've got your little chart. So have fun with it. Lots of cutting, lots of gluing, but it'll look awesome in the end. Thanks.